Hey guys, it's here from Fan TV. Hope you're all well. It's just rolling up to 9:10 on Saturday evening. We're here to talk about Manchester City. And the main point for discussion that I'm going to talk about today, and there's quite a few things you could think about talking about, but the main thing for me, I think, is going to be the idea of Manchester City having a B team. I think it's the main one for me. There are other things you can, we can mention maybe later on, but right now, hey, we've got some fans in the house already. Right now, hi Chris Welch, how you doing, mate? So right now, these bits are still about the. I'll mention the other bits and pieces first. They still talk about that the flag. It was on the back page of at least one national paper. I wasn't massively interested in checking, but the 1894 group had said, that was their aim was for the publicity and everything else, and they said it was on the back pages, so they felt they'd got some of their aim. Other people felt still, there's few of the. I won't call it outrage, but yesterday was the opinion day. As I said, I did that poll. I think it finished off, was it 77 or 79% said they felt embarrassed. And this was about 140 or so in the poll. So it's a reasonable number of people. And it was either 77 or 79% said they weren't, they were embarrassed by it. And obviously the rest said it was all right. They agreed with it. I'm just going to put this on the Twitter. So that's one of the big ones. There's one area that I'm reluctant to go into where people have talked about the Black Lives Matters and about what someone said about. You can go and check if you want. I think if you want to go and check on Twitter, it's Adam Keyworth. I think he didn't say it, but he's having a pop at somebody. I'm not going to go there. And there's other bits and pieces we can discuss. But for me, the main thing is it is that B team. So I'm just going to pop it on Twitter. So that's the thing for tonight. Will Man City have a B team? So that's it. Will Man City have a B team in the Football League? That's what I want to talk about. So I'm just going to pop this on. As I said, just bear with me a second. It's always nice just to stick. Aaron, how you doing, mate? Hope you're very well, Aaron. Hope your weekend's doing you all right. And so let's just pop this on. Just bear with me, guys. I wasn't fully set up. I was just really busy. It just happened. I was chatting with my sister, so lots of things are going on. And this is whilst I was setting up the stream, so I just didn't get enough time. What I normally do is get it all ready. But anyway, Man City's B team. Now, yes, COVID-19 has caused immense problems and issues, not just with league clubs, the lower levels and national leagues and stuff like that. But it's also caused massive issues, massive problems in the Premier League. And okay, Premier League clubs are more likely to be able to survive. Yeah, they can borrow money, and because everybody knows they'll be getting, whoever's lending it knows they'll be getting money in. They're not going to disappear. It's very, very unlikely now. It shouldn't be that Premier League teams go out of business, or there's always somebody else to buy them. So there's this big issue. Okay, now there is a serious risk in Leagues 1 and 2, certainly in League 2, that clubs could go out of business, or be semi-professional, but we could lose a few clubs. And yes, there might be loads of other clubs in the national leagues that say yes, we want to come forward, we want to, we're happy to, if for instance, if 6 or 7 clubs went out of business, what do? Do you play with a smaller league next season, or do you let more clubs come through the National League? I don't know how they're going to sort that out. But there is a risk. there is a serious risk that some clubs could go out of business. Now, how can we stop them going out of business? Well, you've got one thing you can do is you can have the Premier League. Maybe the Premier League will give money. Maybe they'll give enough money for these clubs to survive without any catches. Just say, look, here's a chunk of money. They give that to the Football League and say, make sure your club survives. Because otherwise, I mean, can you see what happened? What would happen if next season there's no gate money? Yeah, clubs are going to. Some of them have to go to the wall. There's no way you can survive if 80% of your money is coming in from match day income, or 50%, or whatever. Clubs will either have to sell off players, they'll have to pay them less, which might make players leave, breaching contracts. Lots of things might happen. It might affect some of your sponsors, because obviously the lower down you go, your sponsors are smaller, and they might not be able to afford it. They might have gone out of business as well. We talked about this before. They might have gone out of business. So how are you going to get by? They need what you're right, Chris Welch. They need emergency payments, but who's going to give those emergency payments? Who's going to give support to the likes of Rochdale or Oldham or Carlisle or whoever? Who's going to give money? Is it the government? Well, you got the furlough scheme already, but are the government going to give? Here you are. There's whatever 48, 46, whatever football league teams. Leagues 1 and 2. We're going to give you £2 million each, or £1 million each. I can't see the government doing that. Are the Football League going to do it? I'm not sure they've got the money. So it's a really important question. Could the Premier League give some money? Because as I said, if you have next season where there's no gate money, what if you have another season where there's no fans? We don't know what's going to happen. Could you end up with 20 or 30 teams going out of business? Hi, Faris, hope you're well, mate. Could you have 20 or 30 teams going out of business next season? Honestly, we don't really know. Premier League could help out, but we don't know how much, whether they'd give. So if you're going to get 20 teams going out of business, do the Premier League say, well, look, for the want of, let's say, £100 million, they could all be saved. They could all have emergency loans from the Football League or something, because we want that pyramid. Because let's say you lose 20 or 30 teams, you've lost a division. You lost a full division. So is that going to be an issue? Is that going to be a huge problem for the Premier League? Because basically, that's where I see the money coming from. Are they going to say, well, that's going to affect us? You'd like to think that they would think it's going to affect them in the long run, because clubs are just disappearing. But here's my idea. No one helped Bury out. Yeah, but they can't give money to the club. Chris, they're not. I don't think they're allowed. So they could have given it to the league, but then the league would have had to give it. Football League would have had to give it to Bury. They're not going to do that. So here's a solution, and that's the B team solution. Now, Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, if you watch his videos at the end of the season, I think it was one end of 2019. He said this, but he talked about a B team, because right now we don't have competitive football at a competitive enough level for our youngsters. That's why one of the reasons we have links with other clubs, like in Europe, like with NEC Breda. That's why we bought clubs like, one of the reasons we bought clubs like Girona in Spain. We've got this club in Belgium as well. Forgot the name. Sorry, guys. These so many clubs just all over the place. So we've got clubs, so we can send our youngsters there, because I've said it many times. The gap between EDS football under 18s or even under 23s football and first team football at a club like Man City playing in the Premier League is enormous. It's huge. It's a chasm. And you're going to have to be an exceptional talent to be able to make that leap from one to the other. Okay, some players do. You got your Phil Fodens. You can look at Eric Garcia. You can look at Till Howard Berlist. You can look at Tommy Doyle. And then people look like they've got an opportunity. But it's a huge step. That's why we send players out on loan to various leagues around Europe, sometimes the odd player around England too. Now in Spain, you've got this situation where you have got B teams. So you've got Barcelona B, and that's where I think Pep started his managerial career, at Barcelona B. And you got Real Madrid B and all that. And what they're allowed to do is come through the football leagues, but they're not allowed to be promoted into the top division. Basically, you're not allowed to have excuse me, a team's A team and a B team in the same division. So they have to stop once they get to what would be our La Liga B for them, and our Championship. So, it could be that. So Calderón Mubarak has talked about this. That's they really, really want it because the standard of football is going to be, I think, better. Typically, I think it's going to be higher, and I think you've got, rather than having 3 or 4 players, maybe 5 players at loan at another club, and then relying on the other club to play your players. Look at Muric this season at Nottingham Forest, hardly played. Yeah, that's always got to be a concern. So you've got to. It's much better to have a club where you can say, right, we're going to send you 15. So our EDS, instead of playing in the EDS under 23s, they might be playing in League 2 in a team, with the possibility is League 1 and then Championship. You can watch it. You can watch the streams later. You don't have to watch them live. So you've got that, and as you progress, you're playing a higher standard of football each time. And playing in the Championship, that's a really, really strong league, competitive league. Now the Football League don't like this idea. They're not going for this because they worry that they're just helping the Premier League to get better and better and better, and it's going to push some of their clubs out. Because let's say all the Premier League clubs say we want a team, or 15 say we want a team, want to do this. That's taken 15 other clubs or 20 other clubs spaces in the Football League. So Football League, instead of having 72 teams, they've now got 52 teams, and it does have an impact. And you can take away voting rights and stuff like that, but it's an issue for that. The Football League just don't want that B team, but the Premier League might make it. They might say, well, it might be the catch. If you want some money from us, you have to let us have B teams in the Championship, in the League 1 and League 2. Okay, they might have to start in the National League, top National League, or in League 2. If we're going to lose 10 teams next season, then maybe we can say we can have 10 B teams, but they all start in League 2. So this is a solution that the Premier League teams might look at and say, if we're going to give you money, and because there's 72 teams that need money, and it could be well in the region of £100 million, which the Premier League actually don't want to give because they're a bit strapped for cash as well. So if we're going to give you this money, the catch is, let's say, we're going to keep the clubs alive. We're going to keep you alive by doing this, but you've got to take our B team. So it might be that all clubs stay in business, and somehow they find a way to get Premier League teams into, for instance, League 2, National Leagues or something. And they have to work the way up. And maybe that's a way that, as I said, you can keep the little lower league clubs in existence, keep them in business, keep them going, keep their communities going, and all the jobs they create in and around those communities. As well as doing that, you can get the B teams that the Premier League want in, and that might work. Blackpool Blu-ray, and we've seen kind of something not like that, but semi like that going along that route with the Checkatrade Trophy. You got EDS teams playing with League 1 and League 2 teams, so you got your under 23s are in with these League 2 and League 1 teams in the EDS in the I think you call it Checkatrade Trophy still. So they're playing in that competition, cup competition. It's got a knockout. I think 3 groups of 4 teams, 2 go through. That is already in existence, so it's just an extension and actually making a full league out of it. Saying, look, we're going to put all these teams, and you're going to play against men. You're going to play men's football against men. And as your team progresses through the divisions, if it gets to the Championship, as I said, you're playing really high level football. I'm just going to check your points. Hi, Blackpool Blu-ray. Hope you're well. Chris Welch says, I like to see us have a B team too for our youngsters instead of loaning them out every season. Absolutely, Chris. So many players, you end up selling them because they want to play. We sold Jadon Sancho. Now, I'm not saying if we had a B team and in the Championship, Jadon Sancho still wouldn't have left, but we would have had an extra option. Yeah, Brahim Diaz left. Okay, now it would have been nice for City to have him for a season in the Championship, not just in any old club. Yeah, just 1 player or 2 players at a club, and that's it. And they can play whatever system they want, and you have to rely on them picking your players. As I said, Eric Muric didn't get much game time at Nottingham Forest, but you have a full team, 15 or 20 players from Manchester City, kids who are playing in that B team. You might throw a couple of older people in as well, as they're winding down their careers. If there's no restriction on age, you could say, for argument's sake, Fernandinho, you're winding down your career, but you becoming a coach, please play for one season with the kids in this division, as well as doing your coaching stuff for the main team. Okay, I think that's it, Blackpool Blu-ray. The main thing is you cannot play in the Premier League. That will not be allowed, and that's what happens in Spain. It's something that, as I said at the top of the show, the Premier League, some of the teams want it. Manchester City want this. Okay, Manchester City definitely want this, but the EFL don't want it. Chris Welch says it's called the EFL Trophy now, but yeah, it's the same thing. Doesn't matter what it's called. It's the same thing. I think it's still called the EFL. I thought Checkatrade was still sponsoring it this season. I can't remember. But that's my point. So in summary, Premier League teams want it. Some of them want it. The Football League don't, but they might have to if Premier Leagues say, we'll give you the money, but you've got to let us put our teams in your divisions, and you can't get past, obviously. Unless someone gets relegated, then what do you do? I mean, it's a bit messy, and I understand. I understand what you can't have. For instance, you can't have, let's say, Aston Villa have an A team and a B team. Okay, obviously, they have one in the Premier League, and let's say one in the Championship. And let's say their B team wins the Championship, but their A team gets relegated from the Premier League. What do you do? What do you do? Well, the only thing I can say you do is you have to relegate Aston Villa's B team out of the Championship, which is ludicrous. You can't let them be promoted, because that's one of the things. You cannot get past that level. So you can't promote them to the Premier League and try and switch them around. It's really, really, it's not on. So what do you do? Do Aston Villa have to drop a league, or do they have to lose their B team? I don't think you can lose your B team, because it's messy, and that's the problem. Because then you've got to promote an extra team from League One, or relegate one fewer team from the Championship. But whatever you do, you have the rules set out in advance. You don't get caught out like we're getting caught out this season. How do we finish if we have to finish the season? Do we do it on as the position stand? Do we do it positions at halfway? Do we do it on points per game, or do we do it on a weighted points per game? How do we do it? Do we look at and even more? There's many different ways to do a weighted points per game. You could just do it simply weighted by the number of games you played and do that straightforward. Or you could turn around and say, we'll weight it by the number of home games you played and the away games and what you've done at home and away. Or it could even be done by looking at the positions of other clubs. That's extreme weighting. That's going into a lot of detail. But, we would avoid all that. We could avoid, and we should avoid all that. So they would have to have something in writing beforehand. Let's look at your comments, and then we'll see what else we can talk about. Absolutely, Chris, it will be messy. But if you make it clear, if the Premier League team gets relegated and their team is in the Championship, they get relegated. And then you just decide whether you promote an extra team or you relegate one fewer team from the Championship. I would promote an extra team. I'm tempted, but just make a decision and then you go with it. Hi, Akash. Hope you're well, mate. We're just about to finish. 20 minutes is almost up. Faris, so what happens if the Man City B team wins the Championship? They will not be able to get promoted, Faris. They will just stay where they are. That's what happens in Spain. You're not allowed to be promoted to the top league because you can't have two teams in the same league. In the same division, so they would just have to stay in the Championship. And then what you'd hope would happen from a development point of view is the best players in that team would then hopefully be able to move forward to the first team, and then you put some more kids in. So it's not going to hold them back really. You might have some kids who play a couple of seasons in the B team, okay, and others who play one season in the B team are either sold off, loaned out abroad, or move up to Manchester City in the first team. So lots of stuff like that. Vidya, should we sign Semedo or Roberto? Honestly, no idea, Vidya. Semedo, we could sign him if we let Cancelo go, Joao Cancelo. But if Cancelo stays, then I don't see us getting Semedo when we've already got Kyle Walker and Joao Cancelo. I think there's more important places in the team to buy players and not triple hand ourselves. at right back. Blackpool Blu-ray, Bury and Bolton wish they could have played against Liverpool, Everton, United and City. The money would be a lifesaver. I'm not so sure, because if you think about it, you're playing against the City's kids. You're playing against City's kids, and I think that's the issue. You're playing against the Premier League clubs' kids, and they're not much of a draw. There might be a bigger draw than some of the other clubs. Or, for instance, if you're playing against, let's say you're playing against Wolves B, and Wolves B are top of the table, and you're second in the table, and you're playing against Wolves B, maybe that is a big draw. Hi, Cobby, hope you're well, mate. I haven't seen you for ages. So maybe that is a big draw. But I think, if you're playing against, for arguments, but what you don't want is, for instance, 15 teams in the Championship, and they're all the Premier League's B teams. That, I just thought about that. Obviously, I'm thinking on the hoof. If you end up with that situation, I don't think that's workable either, because what have you got left? How many teams have you got left? So if you've got 24 teams in the league, you've got, and 15 of them are Premier League B teams, you've got 8 teams working for promotion or and relegation. Okay, only 8 teams working for promotion, because obviously if your Premier League B teams finish in the bottom 3, they'll get relegated. But so that is an issue to consider. That is a huge issue. What do you do if too many teams? What do you do if 20 teams from your Premier League B teams are in the Championship, and you've got 4 teams? You've got 4 teams, and then in the Championship, 3 of them get promoted. There is more to think about than I've already thought about, but you can see the possibilities of something happening. There might. Here's another solution: they can turn around and say, we won't have more than, let's say there's 20 teams. Okay, they say we won't have more than 6 B teams in the Premier League, in the Championship, 7 in the League One, and 7 in League Two. Okay, or you might split it, including in the National League as well. You could say we won't have more than 5, 5, 5, 5, and to decide what we do, we could have playoffs between the leagues, and to decide. Some might not be happy because they say, look, we just won our league, so why should we have a playoff against a team that's maybe way down in the other league? So there'd be obviously things to think about, things to work out. It's not as straightforward as that, but it can be simple. It can be worked out, and as long as you get the rules up and running, and everybody's agreed well in advance, then no one should really be in a position to complain about it. Let's just have a look at people's comments. Faris, but we would get the money. Faris, I'm guessing you're talking about if we won the Championship. Let's say, I suppose we should get it. Or we might be excluded from prize money. That might be one of the caveats as well, that they say you're excluded from prize money. You want to develop your players, we'll let you do that, but we won't give you prize money because we just think that's unfair, because you've got far better players. You've got access to a lot more money. So maybe they say there's no prize money, but but it affects the FA Cup and all sorts of things. Because would you be allowed to play in the FA Cup? I don't think you should, because you got that risk that you go all the way. So it's a problem, and how you wouldn't be able to play in the FA Cup. Simple as that. Last few questions. A lot going on, Cobby. I hope you're well, mate. Chris Welch, Premier League B teams in the slow leagues, only solution to keep clubs alive, and unfortunately replace some clubs in the league. Yeah, that and the risk is if you, for instance, let's say you do lose 20 clubs next season, and you want to replace them from the national leagues. There might not be 20 clubs to come up from the National League. Yeah, then you might have to go to further down the structure, and then basically you're bringing forward clubs that haven't got the finances at that moment in time, and haven't got the players, and you're diluting the quality of the Football League. Absolutely, diluting the quality of the Football League by doing that. Or at least League Two will be absolutely massively diluted. What if you lose 40 clubs? What if you lose 40 clubs? Is it possible? You think not. What if you lose 30? So you could lose most of the clubs in the League Two and 7 or 8 in League One. That's a lot to lose. So it's a lot to think about. Yeah, Forrest, I think if they, that's how I'd do it. I'd say, okay, you won. If I was a football league, I'd say to the Premier League, if you want to do this, absolutely fine. But don't get prize money and put some other issues, other rules in place to cope with it. Chris says, do you think championships will do B teams? I don't think so. I don't think they've got the finances, to be honest, to be able to put forward proper B teams. I don't think it should be done. They've got enough structure to play football, I think. But then it would get silly if you did that as well. Blackpool Blu-ray, last question this, I think. Maybe you would have to just have the top 6 clubs in the Premier League allowed to have B teams. It's a possibility. It's a possibility. Some clubs won't want to do it, I think. They'll just say it's too expensive or whatever reason they'll come up with, some clubs. But I can see a lot of clubs wanting to do it just to give their players. Because it's one of those, if you have someone in the B team playing in the Championship, for instance, and they're a good player, maybe in a January transfer window, you can transfer them into your first team squad. And that can, or you can sell them on or whatever. It can help you raise money as well to be able to buy players in the January transfer window. Guys, I've been on a lot longer than I thought. I hope you're all well. I hope you take care of yourselves. And I'll see you guys at some point tomorrow, whether in the morning or whether in the evening. Guys, look after yourselves. Thanks very much for coming on board. If you're new to the channel, it'd be fantastic if you could subscribe. We've had a lot of subscribers in the last week or so. I think we had about 15 new subscribers, so that's been all right. But it'd be really nice if you guys could subscribe if you're new to the channel. See you around, Blues.